everybody. How are you guys doing? This is Mercyhurst tonight. I'm Donny Bryant, and today I have my co-host Jieny Dour with me. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. We have some interesting topics today, so why don't we get started? Jenny, would you do the honors?
Sure. So our first topic today is Stacey Abram's response to Trump's State of the Union address, which I think she spoke very well and professional. She brought up a lot of critical details that Trump chose not to address, such as inflation and the cost of living aren't the same. And she addressed how many people cannot afford to live in today's economy and that we need to start supporting small businesses.
Now, Trump is trying to make the economy better with what he's doing, but at the same time, you can't ignore the fact that it's hard to own a small business.
And I think with small businesses, the reason why she wants to promote it so much is because when you support small business, the money automatically goes right back into your community. Unlike with corporations, where it has to go through like the federal, like everything has to go through taxes, but like it goes towards the corporation, which will not necessarily go back into the community. So if you support small businesses, then you already know it's guaranteed your money will go back to your community because they're spending. Usually small businesses are locally owned, and the people who own the small businesses are locals in themselves. So obviously they'll hire other locals, so that'll guarantee them jobs, and then it'll encourage more people to work there because they know who's there, and they know that the money is going back into their communities. So, and then that'll help fight the cost of the inflation and the cost of living. I think it'll help even it out more because regardless, inflation will always happen, but people cannot continue to have low wages and cannot support themselves within the current inflation in the current economy. So if they support small businesses, then it's guaranteed they have a job, and it's guaranteed their money will go back into the community.
Right. Yeah, and I completely understand that. And one thing, if there's anything that people need to understand is, what it'd be like if you were in someone else's shoes. Mm-hmm. And money is probably one of the hardest things to ever talk about. You know what I'm saying? Because Donald Trump, with his past, he has been wealthy, mm-hmm. He's been rich. And I feel like he doesn't know what it's like to be in other people's shoes. When the government shutdown took place, people were living paycheck to paycheck. They were getting $0. They weren't getting anything in their account. And when it comes to anything else in terms of owning a store or owning a business, what happens is if you don't have like the money to keep that business going, then you're out of luck. And when it comes to living, not everybody's in a mansion. Not everybody is in a mansion. Not everyone grew up in a big house. Not everybody had, expensive things. And you have to understand that poverty is one thing that can be extremely catastrophic. It's extremely catastrophic, especially with the black community, because African Americans statistically, and it's unfortunate, but African American blacks have had the highest poverty rate, and that's something that needs to change. We need to find a way for us to change that. So we should find a way to support small businesses, so that way there can be more jobs for people, and that way there can be a more community, impact with local community.
And even now, people are living paycheck to paycheck. So when that government shutdown happened, it affected a lot of people because at that moment they were already living paycheck to paycheck, and they got their paychecks where like they couldn't get it, so it was revoked for them. So they had to figure out a way to continue living when they had no paycheck to support them and their families, which was really difficult because if you're already living paycheck to paycheck and then your paycheck is gone, you gotta figure out other solutions to find ways to like support your family and guarantee that you guys will continue to live. And the shutdown, they say that the shutdown is just a little bit. It was only like X amount of days, but those days were very detrimental to many families. And it's not like they could have gone to a supermarket and like, oh yeah, I'll pay you back once the government turns back and comes back.
I'll get you later, my man.
Yeah, and that's what Trump thought like many businesses were, like many corporations were doing. Because he's always been a business owner, and he's always been wealthy. He doesn't realize the difficulty of continuing to live without a paycheck and supporting a full family.
Some people had to sell their own houses to afford their business because they love doing what they do so much. They love to keep that business because just the feeling and the pride that they have of just building something from scratch. they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose that. So they'll do anything they want to keep that. And, you know, if they have to sell their house, if they have to sell the ring, if they have to sell their car, whatever means precious to them to keep something that they started from scratch, they'll do that. Some people need to understand that some people will go to desperate measures just to keep something going.
Yeah.
It's stubbornness, but at the same time, it's pride. And that's what communities need, and that's what small business owners need.
Yeah, and I think many times when people think of federal workers, they automatically assume that they have a lot of money and that they have money saved and they're no longer living paycheck to paycheck and that their family's like well off. But the honest truth is still, even if you're a federal worker, even if it's like a small like job that's still considered a federal job, like a post like a mailman, they still have to live paycheck to paycheck. So when that shutdown happened, it's still a lot of time. Currently, they're still being affected by it, and they're trying to get back to like a lot of like I was looking on CNN and stuff like that. Many of the effects that happened from the shutdown are still affecting them now. Like more than half of people who own car insurance, they're over 90 days past due with their payments. That's because of the shutdown.
Oh, yeah.
And they're behind on many bills, such as like their mortgage, their light bills, and stuff like that. And that's all the effects of the shutdown. Like Stacey Abram says, the current inflation is not equal to the cost of living at this moment. So which is really difficult if you want to have. Oftentimes when people come to America, they're like, oh, it's a land of opportunities. You have the American dream, which is where you think that, oh, you can work, but you don't have to constantly work yourself, overworking yourself and have multiple jobs. But now it's not, not many people can achieve that a dream because the cost of inflation and the current jobs that they have or wages aren't like high enough. Like even here in Pennsylvania, the current minimum wage is still $7.25, which is completely irrational. That cannot sustain anyone at all.
Exactly.
While in other states like New York, where the cost of like current minimum wage is between $11.25 and $15.
But some people have to understand too that in New York, living expenses are extremely high.
Correct, that's true.
And just that might seem like a decent amount of money, but you have to understand a decent apartment is just a ton of money, and sometimes it's not even worth living on. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it very hard for some people to continue owning the business and owning whatever they have, and also owning something as good as a house or even an apartment. And so, do you own or do you know anybody that in your family, or do you know anybody specifically that owns a small business is going through any crisis right now?
Yeah, my sister owned a small business, but she wasn't able to sustain it in New York, in Buffalo specifically, because like I said, oftentimes the cost of living was too high for people. Like they wanted to support her business, but they couldn't afford to like spend like luxury goods like other clothes, like specific African material clothing, which is more expensive than American clothing materials because of the quality of it.
African clothing.
Yeah, she sold like old African clothing, but
Yeah.
that material tends to be more expensive because it's more authentic compared to American clothing, like their material. So oftentimes people wanted to support it, but they couldn't because they had to choose. They had to like really budget. Like, okay, well, I have to put this amount of money for food, this amount of money for my kids. My kids' education and their health, just extra money put away just in case like an emergency would have happened. So they didn't have enough money to put aside to support her business, which I understand why she had to shut it down because of that reason, because it was too expensive to live just in Buffalo in itself, to let alone to like support somebody else.
And that's where Stacey Abrams' point comes in, because if you support small businesses, if you go what she is saying, then you can help out people like your sister, who unfortunately, and I do apologize for that about her business shutting down. It's unfortunate, but we have to find a way to support small businesses. We have to, especially for immigrants, especially because some immigrants, they create the best places in whatever state, whatever community they're in. But what some people don't understand is it's probably a small business. It's not a franchise. It's a small business. And they have to be very serious about it. And so if you don't support a small business, or if you can't find someone who has the economy to support that small business, then it's going to be very difficult to support something like that.
Yeah, I think many immigrants who have current small businesses that are thriving, the reason why they have it is because they built their small business back in like early 2000s when the economy was like pretty decent and the cost of living was not too high, so they're able to sustain themselves and their family with a small business. And they had other immigrants with them. They came with big amounts of family, so they knew that they would automatically support their business because it'd be like a little piece of home in America, in a foreign land. So now their business is thriving because they built it back when they were able to build it on the economy. But now the economy is too, I think it's like fluctuating way too much now. It's like
it's a little unstable, if you
Yeah.
ask me. Like, yeah, the economy might be good now, but like there have been drops in stocks, and there have been there are drops and now increases and decreases and all that stuff, and it's just like it's so inconsistent. And
Yeah.
so some people can't even rely on that. You got to rely on your sales. You got to rely on how much you make and how much you're supposed to make, your goals, your objectives, especially for when taxes come,
Oh, yeah.
because you have to handle taxes, especially for a business.
I think nowadays, if you want to own a small business, you definitely have to have multiple sides on the job to support you just in case that business fails, which is really sad because the point of a small business is what you're supposed to like live off of. Like that's supposed to be your mode of income, your main mode of income. Not you shouldn't have to rely on other jobs to support you in order to, and hope like because you have the possibility of your business failing, and there's a high possibility of that failing too.